And welcome to ToutSuite, everybody, and thank you so much for being here. We've got Helen Keplinger and her team. I got some wonderful people. And Kraemer, we got DJ Warner here as well. And we're waiting on one more, so as soon as he shows up, we'll make sure that he gets introduced. But thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you to ToutSuite, and thank you to 55 Degrees, as always. So we're going to just jump right into wine.
Cool.
Because, I mean, we're here to talk about wine, but we're here to just talk about everything. You know, if there's something that somebody who's logged in, and everybody, log in. If you're watching this show live streaming, please log in. We'd love to have you. Ask these guys some questions about anything you like. We'd love to hear what you have to say. But really, let's start off with the wine. What are we drinking? What do we got?
I'm actually not drinking that, so let me just switch real quick. Sorry about that. The Albarino was really nice, but that's...
Thanks, Boris.
Yeah, thanks, Boris. So this is our 2012 Eldorado White. It's a blend of around 50%. Around 50%. Sorry, got some distractions here. I'm a little ADD anyway. All right, so this is a white.
My name is Helen Keplinger.
Around 50% Viognier and about 25% each of Roussanne and Grenache Blanc.
Ooh.
The Viognier comes from Anne Kraemer's Vineyard, and the Roussanne and the Grenache Blanc come from our Caldera Vineyard, which is about 30 miles due north from Anne's Vineyard. So this is our first non-single vineyard wine. It's all foothills, and the soils are maybe similar, but there's some fine differences that are pretty important, and microclimates are obviously a little bit different.
It's good wine. It's yummy, and this is actually like I'm a Rhone fiend, and you know you start playing with white Rhone varietals, and then it's just like, okay, now we're heating up and we're having a good time.
Yeah.
And to get to talk to you guys about this, I'm really interested. And we had a few questions. Sasha from Wines actually logged in early on and set us up with some really nice questions. Thank you, Sasha.
Hey, Sasha.
And was curious as to Rhone varietals and their movement into the Sierra foothills and why winemakers are kind of moving that direction and what your general thoughts were on that.
Take it first.
Yeah, you
and then
go.
Well, I feel like I have a very limited. When we planted our vineyard in 2000 and there's some back.
I know the
but,
echo.
Yeah, 2003, I only planted half an acre of Viognier, thinking it would just be for co-fermenting for Syrah. I really thought we'd be too hot there and that it would be a big terpene, kind of oily Viognier. And so the Favias grabbed that little half acre for Favia and made a beautiful Viognier out of it. So when I planted in 2009, I asked both Helen and Annie Favia if they would like some, and they both jumped on the wagon. So based on that, and I kept thinking, oh, it's just because it was in a super cool spot or it was frosted a couple years.
Yeah.
But, you know, after we had 3 or 4 vintages, I was convinced it was worth trying. And then this is the first I've gotten to taste of this one.
Yeah.
So.
Really?
Yeah.
We've talked about doing it for years, and it just... And we've been sort of tasting our way around California Rhones and tasting Rhone whites, you know, from France, and just thinking about it and talking about the vineyard because we wanted to use that Viognier, which was really beautiful. But I think I decided I really wanted a blend, and that's what I found really married the kind of the best qualities of those varieties to make something super compelling and complex. And so I started talking to Ron up at the Caldera Vineyard. And he has Roussanne, Marsanne, Grenache Blanc, Fermentino. And after watching those grapes year in and year out, because they're right next to my other blocks, the Grenache Blanc is insane and has a really beautiful brightness and acidity. And the Roussanne, I thought, would add just a little bit, you know, kind of that oiliness and fill what the Viognier, because the Viognier from Anne's Vineyard is really fruit-driven and really mineral, really beautiful purity and minerality. And so it isn't that like fat terpene, like overripe,
not at all.
Cloying Viognier. So the three of them come together, I think, really beautifully.
It's gorgeous.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Lovely wine.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. And how? Yeah. And actually, Sasha's other question was about site specificity and utilizing that. And with this one, you're talking about that distance. And you know, a lot of us are constantly talking about Napa locations, and we hear a lot about Napa soils. That in the Sierra foothills, with what we're working with, what is that? What do you see soil-wise difference? I mean, simply put, is one more rocky, is one more gravelly, is one more maybe more clay or something like that, comparatively to the two. Oh, here he is.
Talking serious stuff, huh?
Here's Blanchard. Hello. We finally have our fourth guest, everybody. Mr. Chris Blanchard, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Glad to be
cheers.
here. Cheers.
Happy you can make it.
I think in general there are two main soil types in the foothills, and then I think I'd love to hear Anne's take on her vineyard. But in general, it's either volcanic, so either old ancient caldera or volcanic that's sloughed down and then was pushed back up in the formation of the Sierras, which is what Anne's vineyard is, or it's granitic. So they're kind of the two main things that I see when I drive around up there, and they're both ridiculous. They're awesome.
And looking for, when I was looking for the ranch, it seemed like that was either this decomposed granite that you find in the Fairplay area is where I saw most of that.
Yep.
And then I think there's outcroppings elsewhere, or volcanic soils, but they're very mismatched soils. I mean, it's more, somebody termed it geological chaos.
Really?
Yeah,
Ooh,
and
I
I
like
think
that.
I think it's really a good, if you look at geologically how California formed 140 million years ago or whenever that was, wasn't around. But all these different islands came smashing in and then got overlaid with volcanic activity, got lifted up, turned around, spun around in some cases, I think.
Yeah.
So even the soil pits we dug, so even the 6 foot deep, you'd see these ribbons.
Mm-hmm.
And in the soil pit, you dig them just about big enough so you can get in them, maybe 6 feet wide and 6 feet deep. You look on one side, you can turn around and look on the other side, and you see a completely different, they're the same layers, but just different formation, even in that little bit of an area.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just to give a
Super
really
dynamic.
quick reference as we're talking about these soils,
Yeah.
how far east of where we are in Napa Valley are we talking about? Just in case anybody who's watching isn't particularly familiar. When we just throw out Sierra foothills, it's like, okay, is that right on the opposite side of where we are, or?
125 miles, takes me 2 hours and 15 minutes tonight to get to bed. So.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
But that gives you an idea. And then you'd take another hour, we'd be up at Kirkwood, if that helps any of the skiers in the group.
Yeah,
From
so
the vineyard.
kind of
So-
on the way to South Lake Tahoe, and then you go south.
Yeah.
So are you off up near like Jackson? Are you
Yes.
in that 49?
Very, very close to Jackson. Yeah.
Total gold belt country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
Yeah.
Killer.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
But the soils change. So even on our 46-acre vineyard, though it's spread over about 80 acres, you'll get some blocks will just white quartz, others clear quartz, others soapstone, others a black shale. Just that in a very small area.
Right.
That just probably, again, as that formed or uplifted, and that's just different things that are exposed.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Overall, just deep, well-drained, rocky soil.
And that, when you're growing grapes,
Is what you're looking for.
Yeah, you say
Well, that's what you start
with.
That's where I go and I say, wow, yeah, I want to work with this. But then when you have someone like Anne, who's totally brilliant, has 30 years experience farming a lot of incredible vineyards in Napa, moved to the foothills, and farms beautifully and meticulously. And it's not like, oh, June 1st, I'm going to go out and I'm going to sucker. And June 15th, I'm going to go out and shoe position. And then I'm going to put the wires up. It's always in response to, wow, there was a lot of rain. I'm going to let that sort of stretch out a little more before I tuck the wires, before I sucker, before I do this. And so it's always in response to, what is that?
We've got some people logged in, it sounds like, and they're actually, it sounds like they're listening to what you're saying and then
talking
explaining
about
it to somebody else is what it sounds like.
Translating?
Yeah.
Cheeky.
Right. No. Oh, cool.
You?
That's us. Hi.
Oh my God, get me
I know exactly how she feels.
Those cameras.
We haven't even, the thing is, we still got 2 more wines to go through, and we can really,
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know why we have a dump bucket up here. We shouldn't even be dumping. We should be drinking, but.
We should talk a little bit about the climate,
Yeah.
the weather first, and because I think that is right up there as
Okay.
part of the terroir. Because again, as I was mentioning before, when I was looking at this area, you'd look at the highs and lows and think, oh, wow, we're going to be limited to what we can do. I felt like the Viognier was just there for just doing a little. It would not be a standalone wine. It's the night times drop so fast.
Right.
It's very similar highs and lows. I looked at about 10 years of data that I got a hold of, and before we planted, just to see, and then tasting the fruit around, and I mean the different wines in the region, and highs and lows were really similar to, say, Oakville to St. Helena.
Okay.
Okay. But the differences that July, the peaks would maybe be a couple degrees higher, July, August, but then September it would start, the highs would be a little bit lower. But what was different is how fast the sun comes up, temperature goes straight up, it kind of plateaus. Right. And then 5 to 7 at night, as soon as the valley starts cooling off, the cold air just comes down from the Sierras. And it cools off really fast.
That must be nice. You probably can just feel that air.
Oh, yeah. And the daily temperature graphs that I have look like horseshoes. I mean, they're just up and then down. Versus if you looked at something in a coastal region, it'd be slow going up and then slow going down.
Well, you guys don't get the fog that we do on the same level. It's not waking up and,
if you are, it means
angling and going, oh, wow, it's a really pretty day, and driving down Howell Mountain Road and going, I can't see my fingers in front of me that we get here.
I can look out from one part of the ranch and look down on the valley and you can see the fog. Or if you wake up and you've shrouded, it's because of clouds on you.
Oh, wow.
You're more in the clouds instead of fog.
Well, that's a cool feeling. I woke up in the clouds today.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
It takes that whole idea of getting your head out of the clouds to another level.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think so.
I think you see it in the wines, though, and it's part of why wines from your vineyard and from Ron's, there's this purity of fruit and this lushness, and they're juicy without being overripe or, without losing their identity, without losing their sense of place. So they have incredible purity of fruit and depth and richness from that, I think, all of that sunshine. But because of the drop in temperatures and the cool nights, there's freshness and acidity and minerality and floral notes and mineral and spice. So it just makes it's ridiculous.
Very cool.
It's awesome.
No, it's wonderful wine. I mean, I'm already gone. I'm done. I couldn't wait.
Cool.
This is wonderful Chardonnay. I love it. I came in late.
Well, what do you think? I mean, being based here in Napa for the most part, when you're looking at these wines and you're looking at, we're really just kind of briefly touching on the Sierra foothills. What do you see from your perspective on the industry?
Well, I mean, the Sierra foothills doesn't get much respect, right? I mean, it's kind of old school with great California respect. There's only a few people really doing it, right? There's only a few people that came up there back in the early days, and I think, weren't you doing fruits and nuts or something back in the day?
No.
The old California joke?
Yeah. I was a director of fruits and nuts in Berkeley at the Farm Bureau.
Did it say that on the card?
It did. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you still have some of those?
Someplace. Yeah.
But,
Oh boy, this could go. This could go somewhere.
I think it's awesome to be here because we were actually doing this tasting with Robert Parker, and we were talking about with Keplinger where the wines came from, and Ann Kraemer and that whole thing. And I just assumed everybody knew you because you're sort of a legend up there.
Totally. Well, and in Napa too.
Like, Ann Kraemer,
I'm a vineyard person.
Yeah, a vineyard person, but that's so admirable. And so it's always, it's cool to turn people on to you and to let people know what's going on, because you only think of the Sierra foothills maybe as Zinfandel or something that you can get, or you take a trip up to Tahoe and you pass through. But it's been amazing to taste, especially your wines, the Keplinger wines, and really get.
They're beautiful.
There's so much stuff going on in these wines. It's crazy. I want to learn more about it. I haven't been.
Come visit.
But I worked with Tony Soder back in the day.
Okay.
He did that.
The Fortitude.
The Fortitude.
You have to go
there.
there.
All these wines.
Yeah.
He was telling all these stories about
Those are the babies.
So I'm really excited to be here too, as late as I am.
Thank you
try
for
the
coming.
wines. Yeah, this
Both
is great.
of you.
Yeah, really nice. Cool.
All right.
Okay.
Do we need more wine? Do we have any questions, real quick, from the audience? We have a break in the action. Let's get any questions from the audience. There's got to be something that somebody wants to ask.
The Lithic.
If you got a question, come on. No, you have to get up. You have to get up.
Yeah.
If I have to go on camera, I'm not going to ask.
Okay. I'll ask it for you. Okay.
I'm just familiar with Somerset area, Fairplay Road. So where's your vineyard in relation to that?
Are you familiar with the town of Sutter Creek?
So real quick,
Okay.
Fairplay,
Okay.
Fairplay Road Vineyard is
Okay.
what she's asking about, and
Yeah.
its location and how that. Thank
Somebody?
you.
Hello.
I'm turning around and having wine in my glass.
So yeah, the Fairplay is kind of one of the main
Oh,
appellations in the Eldorado Hills.
Okay.
And that's where we were talking very decomposed granite. If you go east or west and south of Fairplay on Highway 16, you come into Shenandoah Valley, which is the main growing region of Amador County. And then if you keep going down 49, so head south, and then go back up towards Kirkwood about 5 miles is where we're at. So we're on, it's called Shake Ridge Road, but it parallels Ridge Road, which is the way you get to Kirkwood from Jackson, if that helps. Yeah.
Huh.
In the middle of nowhere.
Driven right by there, and I didn't even know it. Wow.
Everybody.
That's a beautiful area too, and it's crazy because what you were talking about now makes perfect sense about
It's a
experiencing
ridge.
how that temperature
Yes.
change and how the
Yeah.
just hot air rises, cold air falls, and 1 second it's this, and the next second you
We,
turn around and wow.
I mean, just today I was noticing, because it snowed on Saturday, and we still have a couple inches on the east and north slopes, but I've also got south and west slopes. And so I was, having so many different little microclimates to work with is how I got away with planting way too many varieties.
How many varieties do you have real quick?
14.
Holy
Yeah. But, and it was just not having any neighbors in the area. It was a matter of,
Can I ask a dumb question about, so it's really cold here, 20 degrees and stuff? Does it affect the vines now that they're all sleeping and everything?
if they went to sleep properly. So especially being such an early harvest, as long as the fruit came off and they had a good 3 to 4 weeks, ideally more, 6 weeks would even be better, of packing in carbohydrates,
You mean
the vines. So
Taking the
once
fruit
you
off
taste
and
the
then-
fruit off and you still have green leaves or functioning leaves, they're still making sugar. It's going into the plant. And then as the leaves turn yellow, they're solubilizing anything they can, and that's going in for next season. But the more sugar they can pack up inside, they have a lower freezing point, so they can handle colder
So they're
climates.
okay?
We're okay, except I went by a vineyard today that had been grafted. And so it probably didn't have any, so it was growing really vigorously, and you could just see it just got frosted with, it looked like everything was still green and growing. And if it's growing, all that carbohydrate's growing into the new leaves, and it's not packing up and storing up. And those will be plants that probably will have trouble with frost damage, freeze damage.
And potentially nutrients next year.
Oh, well, yeah.
So they may have a tough 2014, but it's the
Once they
vine's
get-
not done. It
No,
hasn't-
God, no, vines, it takes a lot to kill a vine.
Really?
Yeah. But you would have damage, and you'd want to prune that poor thing way back and not try to develop a big vine next year.
So it could just
If
extend.
you thought it had been in that situation.
Yeah, it could just extend your timeline from
Yeah.
when you're actually
Right.
going to get usable fruit,
Right.
sort of thing. Gotcha. What's this next one we got? We got more wine. I like this.
Okay.
This is Lithic. So this is a blend of Grenache, Mourvèdre, and Syrah. And it's around 45% Grenache, around 30% Mourvèdre, and then the rest, which is usually less than 25%, is Syrah. And like Ann said, she has a collection of hillsides, and they have different aspects. And she's amazing because she tolerates and she farms so beautifully and is such a perfectionist in what she does that she understands and tolerates what I do on my end, which is totally micro pick everything so that I can co-ferment these varietals as they ripen. So I can pick the first 20 vines of Grenache with the middle of the Syrah and the top of the Mourvèdre, and that's a fermentation lot.
Must make your
And
day.
she doesn't bat an eye. She
Really?
doesn't bat an
Yeah.
eye. No,
Ah,
It's okay.
it's fine.
good.
Here's the vineyard tape. Go market.
Sometimes they have
Or
to do
not
their
even
own
Well,
marketing.
hey,
Or
that's.
not even necessary.
But I mean, hey, it's like
Awesome.
you get to go walk the vineyard. You're going to be like tasting fruit and go, okay, I'm going to remove this vine and I'm
Yeah.
going to take all the way to here and that's mine. And
Yeah.
you get
and all
really
the rest of
excited.
it's not ready.
They have.
We have our own
each-
rows.
They have their own
Very
rows.
cool.
And they're
Everybody has their
marked,
own rows.
yeah.
And sometimes it is half a row. if it's always upper versus lower. There's a few cases of that, but it's mostly, all of yours are full rows, and so,
Right.
but there's quite a bit of difference from the top to the bottom, so we often will pick the first 30 vines, come back and pick the rest, or even the middle and then the bottom, depending on the season.
So this is usually done in three to four picks to make this, and they're all small lots, and there's usually around 20 to 30% whole cluster, because the fruit comes in and it's in beautiful condition, and if the Reikis are nice and ripe, which they often are, the ripeness there is insane.
What's a Reiki?
Sorry, it's the top of the stem. Good question. It is the stem. Reiki is the stem.
Touching it.
It's what holds
Right.
the berries together.
Right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not the actual stem.
Yeah, it's the
It's
stem.
the whole stem.
It would be the whole stem.
Right.
Yeah. So they're often, like the Syrah is often green, but where it's attached, you want to make sure that's
That's
brown,
lignified.
lignified.
What year is this that we're trying?
11.
So an 11 cooler year up there too?
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you still use the stems, or does that?
I used a
Tend to
little
make
bit less that year. I did.
Yeah.
So this was more like 15 to 20%, but I still
Do
use.
you look at the stems, see if it's green or brown or the
You can
seeds
see
big,
them.
or-
Yeah, you can see them when they come in, where it's cut to be harvested. If that's lignified and nice and brown, those tannins are so good.
Yeah.
So that's what I often keep. So it's not like, oh, I have to have 30% or 20%. Regardless, it's
Whatever works.
it's
right?
whatever, when it comes in, and I'm not often calculating it. It's sort of like, oh my God, that looks amazing. I want to keep that.
Does the Mourvedre grape have bigger seeds in it, or do the seeds vary at all, or are the seeds and grapes always kind of the same size? You know how Cabernet can be smaller, Zinfandel bigger, grape-wise, but are seeds pretty much the same wherever you go?
Oh, I've never really thought of
I
that.
haven't either. Aren't they kind of in
Because it would-
proportion to
yeah.
the berry
I think
size?
it's more in proportion
Are
to
they?
the berry. Yeah,
Yeah.
and also
The guy that always
He's
asks this
yeah,
question.
but
He's
Some
throwing out some
years-
crazy questions right
Some
here. I like
years there are
it.
more seeds, and some years there are
this is
fewer.
more of it, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's when there's just a few seeds. Like you have an option of 5 usually in a grapeberry. Rarely you'd get 5. 4 is amazing.
Yeah.
Typically it's 2 or 3.
Okay.
But
When it's
sometimes
1 and 2, those
Yeah.
are usually bigger.
Listen, because I was talking with a guy today, we were talking about the Beaucastel, and they use a lot of Mourvedre in there. He said this one vintage was really cold, and the seeds were a little bit bigger. That
Yeah.
caused them to use less stems. I don't know, it's geeky and everything. But
Okay.
it made me think today. This was at lunch, and I never even heard that. So I
Yeah.
would ask you.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay attention. I think there are,
data
but I'm
points.
trying to. Yeah, but I'm trying to think. Is it varietal?
wonder if
Because
it's
I think like
varietal.
Zinfandel, that tends to be a larger berry,
Mhm.
has actually quite small, especially when they're ready to.
Right.
You can eat those seeds. They're so good. They're really crunchy, which
Well, it's like the muscatel raisins in Spain that have the seeds that are totally lignified, and oh my God, it's so nice to
they're
have a
kind of
little
small.
crunch.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Yeah.
you another dumb question?
There's no
these are
dumb
not
question.
dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
You're not
fun
happy you
questions, Chris.
invited me
Thanks so
now.
much.
This is just- I'm a master sommelier, so I'm supposed to know everything, right? But I don't know a lot of things, and so things that I want to know is I like this wine because it smells sort of smoky, and earthy, and gamey, and those sorts of things that we all like in Rhone style wines. Where does that come from? Where's that gamey, smoky thing, earthy?
I think that's the tri-tip that's on the back.
If we had smell-o-vision right now, you would really know that that's really what it is. The wine's definitely helping. I think the wafting flavors that are coming in pair really well with the wine.
Away, then you'd still have it's a completely different smoke. This would be like some
No.
raspberry sauce on top of it or something. You know what I mean? Or,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm talking about.
Mourvedre, right?
Where's the
I think
Yeah,
it's more
I guess
Mourvedre.
bad.
If this had some of the 470 Syrah, which it's not in this one.
This is
Yeah,
noir.
this is just the noir, and that's more
Berry.
floral perfumey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I think
love that smell.
but I think it's mostly
It's the
Mourvedre in
Mourvedre.
this case.
Is
Yeah.
it?
Her Mourvedre to me always has this like gunmetal and then blue fruit, intense blue fruit, flowers like lavender. There's a resinous flower, and then the
It's
smoke.
more perfumey because Mourvedre's
But
kind
it's
of, I mean,
not-
that's pretty earthy, gamey
Yeah,
type
it's
of grape.
hers is not
Yeah,
as
Yeah.
much.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Because there's some Mourvedre growing up on the Mount Veeder, like the Paris Vineyard.
Right.
Whatever,
Oh, yeah,
and that
yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
was really cool. I liked it a lot, but it's really different than,
Mhm.
than this. And I guess it's just the soils and volcanic stuff you have up there.
Mhm.
And I think maybe that
The
again,
sunlight. Yeah.
really sunny. But so is Mount Leader, but just different
Yeah, sure.
weather patterns too. Yeah.
No, and in working with these varietals, and it's great that you bring up Mount Vita real quick, because we're talking about how different varietals do differently, and this goes back to a little bit of one of the questions we had earlier. Thank you again, Sasha. And working with the own varietals, in the Sierra versus working with them here in Napa, up on top of Mount Vita, you have great Syrah, and going down to San Luis Obispo. You're talking about these big trends in temperature. What does that really set apart when ripening these fruits? I mean, we're going to get a little geeky here, and I have a question for you about San Luis Obispo, but I just want to ask Anne real quick.
Not to compare to those places, I'm just going to address mine, because I think somebody who's tasted more can do a better job of comparing the different areas. Drinking more, okay. I got to catch up. No, I think it's tannin development is what's going on in the foothills, is that with that huge, you can get a diurnal shift in temperature easily, 100 during the day, and it'll be back in the 50s at night and fast, cooling off. And that is something, and then plus all that sunlight, you get these great tannins and really resolved tannins, very coating and smooth. Mm-hmm. And I think that has a lot why they're a little different wines. And then that coolness at night, also this great preservation of the fruit characters to balance that out.
And just to add to that, I think what she was talking about with July and August being warmer than Napa, for comparing to Napa, and then September cooling, it extends the ripening, the tannin ripening of the wine. So you can really wait to get, and you do get fully ripe tannins, without the sugar spiking and without losing what if you wait in a region that's just warm for tannin, you lose a lot. You lose the flowers, you lose the spice, you lose the nuance.
Really?
Yeah. You lose the sense of place.
And I know that you've done a little bit of work down in SLO.
No, I was in Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara? Yeah. So is this I guess the story that I was told on Monday and that I was asked to ask you? He doesn't even remember, because I was interviewing somebody on Monday who's going to be coming up in January that we look forward to seeing, and he said that whatever you do, you have to shift the conversation to San Luis Obispo, because you have to ask Helen about breaking into bars. Because that's what Adam Lee told me to ask you. He said something about
drinking too much,
jumping fences and breaking into bars, and that's all I had to ask you.
You haven't heard this story, have you, DJ? Okay.
This is Adam. He's like,
some things need to be urban legend.
I guess so. And or for guys, just we could go somewhere completely crazy with that.
It's good for PR. I guess.
That's my wild.
I mean, this wasn't something you were doing this past weekend, I'm sure, but.
Well, anyway.
You were in Hawaii this past weekend.
South Africa.
That's right. What?
Okay.
Anyway, we got to get back to these.
Second wine.
Yeah, we should definitely get on this one. And make sure, do we have any other questions coming up online? Anybody logged in? Please, we would love everybody to check it out.
Did that guy get cold feet?
I don't know. I really wish we would have had him. Just to talk?
That's what he said.
We just want him. If he can hear us, we want him to just start blurting out questions.
Robert, John, Brian, Bill, and 38 other people.
We have 40 people logged in right now. We want people to start asking us questions.
Seriously,
We've got
guys?
we got a wonderful panel
drinking?
here. And yeah, there we go. We want to hear what you're drinking. We want to hear your questions. We got so much of Helen, please. But yeah, let's get you some more wine. And I guess
I'm actually gonna swap out because I want to keep the white and see what happens to it.
There we go.
Why is it called lithic?
Lithic is two things. It's a grain size, which is more like sand, which is actually her soil is a larger grain soil, and it's also so rocky, and it's comprised of rocks that are breaking down. And lithic is also that process. It's the degrading rock.
My favorite one.
The Sumo quote.
The
from Chris.
Sumo.
Tastes good.
wow, this is dark wine. I'm reaching across and pouring this and hoping I don't get it on anybody, because I can just see the purple color coming out of it.
Market it with white strips.
Ooh. Well, I had Steve Reynolds on here last week, and he used to be a dentist, and we were talking about some of the wines that he produces and how dark they are. And I
This is where
said,
you stop smiling.
so,
Yeah.
previously in your life,
Have some.
come up here, grab it. Any wines that you guys want to taste, do not hesitate. I see an empty glass. I'm going to pour real quick. But anyway, so Steve Reynolds used to be a dentist, and I gave him, used to spend his life making people's teeth white, and now he's working with varietals that make people's teeth purple.
Guys, giving up. Yeah.
So
this is Sumo. This is also from Anne's Vineyard, and it's a Petite Syrah twist on. Sorry, it's a Côte Rôtie twist on Petite Syrah. So it's God, I'm gonna go home now. It's Petite Syrah co-fermented with Viognier and then blended with a little bit of Syrah.
How much Viognier?
This has 2%.
2%. Huh?
Yeah.
So just a small amount. And is it
It's usually 2 to 4.
Yeah.
So just depends on the year.
And is it a little bit of Viognier that comes right out of the vineyard, or in some cases is it Viognier that you've used gently pressed for something else and then thrown the skins that might still have juice? No, fresh, right out of the
Second-hand Viognier. What is that?
It's certain places have done it as techniques. I'm not going to mention any names.
So this is Viognier that this is another slope, and so we mark a little corner that's cooler
At
and
the very
pick it,
bottom.
Yeah, at the very very bottom of the block. It gets picked later, but it still is usually before the Petite Syrah ripens. So I'll pick a tiny bit to co-ferment with the Syrah that goes into this blend, and then I'll pick the rest and put it in.
What? What does it go in?
3 gallon Ziploc bag.
Goes
And it
in our
goes
freezer.
in my freezer.
Seriously.
It's a good late night snack.
Yeah, like immediately. So it gets frozen in like little batches.
Right.
It freezes immediately, and then I pull it out when I harvest the petite, and it's happy.
Hey,
It's great.
winemaking is art and science, and if this
I
is
think ice wine in a different version.
it's, how big is that batch then? I mean, if you're able to fit it all into one.
I can fit like 350 to 400 pounds of Viognier in my freezer.
That's how you measure your fridge at home, is how much Viognier you can fit in
The
there.
question is for you, Anne, from Trumanta Wines, and
Fermentino?
Fermentino or Trumanta, I read that. But what kind of other white varietals do you have on your vineyard besides the Viognier?
The Anthony.
I know these guys.
The only other one I've planted so far is Greco de Tufo.
What? Nice.
Yeah. So
Why?
Can you say that one more time?
Greco de Tufo.
Echo.
And I wanted.
The Tufo of the Greeks.
Yep. Yeah.
Soil of
First
the Greeks.
Calabria, right?
Why would you plant that?
A white wine that likes heat. Will keep its acidity, and it's got a great minerality and kind of really aromatics, which is kind of white wine. These guys were doing such a good job with the Viognier. I just thought it'd be fun for us to do something different. Okay, it comes out of the press looking like carrot juice. It is so not a white wine.
Cool.
So
Just tasted the 2013 this morning, and it's
it's an orange wine, that's very popular.
it's so orange. Yeah, it's like
hip, man.
it's
super hip.
It's hip, way past where it needs to be hip.
How many vintages have you made now?
Just 2.
Just 2. So
Yeah,
12
so
and 13.
12
so
and 13.
brand new, young
Yeah,
vines.
got a whopping 22 cases out of 2012. I mean, it's like, yeah.
How do
Yeah.
people approach that when they taste it? I mean, how
Nobody
much?
tasted it yet. I have to prove to the government that it's a varietal before
Okay.
I can get a label approved for it. So no, it's not on the variety list yet
Really?
for the
Super
TTB.
hip. Super hip.
Wow.
Yeah. So
There are hipsters out there watching this now whose minds are exploding because they didn't know about this varietal before you did.
yeah,
Does it have
yeah.
to be California or the U.S.? Because
it's
it's a
a
weird thing. We had Greco de Tufo in
From Italy.
Argentina,
okay,
in
cool.
Mendoza.
Yeah.
Somebody brought out a
Right.
bottle.
Yeah.
Just
So
in the U.S., you have to prove
you
it.
have to. It has to be on the varietal list
Huh.
in order to be approved as a variety
What is
on your label.
Who's put the varietal list together?
The TTB,
Oh,
Tax
really?
and Trade Bureau,
Huh.
the same
Yeah,
one
they're
that
super
approves the labels.
Yeah, they're really hip. I mean, what needs to happen in order for these guys to really add this? I mean, to say, hey,
Oh, no,
this
no,
is
I
a
just- I
varietal,
have
we
to-
want it on the list.
I have to prove that it's a varietal that is viable in the United States. So, I mean, can I send you a bottle of wine?
Send pictures of the living.
And it's actually on the USDA, so the Department of Agriculture has already okayed it as a varietal to be planted. It's in the grape registry. It's not a big deal. I just sent it to the wrong office, apparently.
Oh.
They sent my whole little thing back to me, and I have to send it to the right people.
The right people.
I don't
Sounds
think
familiar.
it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
it's just that nobody's bothered before. So
Well, your 2012 vintage, I'm assuming, is getting close to being bottled, maybe, or
no,
is
it is bottled.
it is bottled. So what does it look like in the bottle?
It's got a nice tinge to it, but
Got
it's
a
not.
tinge.
Yeah. It's not orange.
How do you get rid of the orange?
Well, we did filter it. We don't normally do filter, but it was also black. So it's got a protein haze, which is part of that color
Yeah.
component, and this is a work in progress. We're working on
Does it
this.
look that way in the
phenolic one?
vineyard too? Or like,
Oh no, it's this
Pinot
little
Gris
cute
or
little.
Gewürztraminer?
Oh no, it looks like the greenish gold,
does?
and then it goes to gold in the sun.
Huh.
It looks like Viognier. Actually, it's a lot like Viognier, and it's kind of got that astringency. So
Bless you.
Is that a question?
anyway, so that's our only other white wine. Long detour there. But
No, I like hearing about that. It's a fun ride. I think he might need a Kleenex. You okay with that? Okay. I hope he's okay.
Like-
Brian Scott. Even if Brian can't, we can hear him.
We can hear Brian. Okay. Oh, now they're laughing at us. So he definitely got called out on TV. You just sneezed in front of hundreds and hundreds of people.
That was a
And
cough. That was not a sneeze.
okay,
Right?
I'll go with that.
so now we hung
Just
up.
love
Back to this.
Back to the wine. I mean,
Syrah.
talking about
yeah.
Petit Syrah and playing with, you guys are working with some great varietals over there and really kind of stretching the idea. And actually, real quick, to finish out all the questions from Sasha, because I want to make sure we get through all of them. You'll make wines here in Napa as well, correct?
Yeah.
How often do you actually get to go visit Anne?
She comes up a lot.
And how do you balance
We have a
doing
good
the
bakery.
vintages between the two?
I have a friend who bought the same car that I bought at the exact same time, which was May, and he has 4,000 miles on his car, and I have almost 16,000.
Wow.
So I get up there a lot. And when I go, it's a loop. So I go out to Anne's, I'll go to Fairplay. I work with a vineyard that's on DG there. And then I go up to our other vineyard, which is Caldera. And that's really beautiful. It's an old ancient caldera. So it's this fine red Aiken volcanic soil strewn with little lava pebbles. And then there's a lava cap 20 feet down. So I do that loop. And it's probably, I don't know, 380 miles or something like that
Round
to do that. Yeah, but I get up a lot. It just depends on where we are in the season. So once to twice a month, once a week to every 2 weeks if it's early in the season. And then if we're getting close to harvest or at a critical time, I'll come up once or twice a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'll call her and tell her.
Yeah, she
It's
sends
time.
samples. She'll send me samples in Ziploc bags. I mean, it's
That are destined for the freezer, I'm sure.
I talk to Anne a lot during harvest. During the build up to harvest, we talk, we email.
But even during the season, it's like, I really like if everybody could come out and see it. Just about when the vines are slowing down their vegetation.
Yeah.
They're starting to slow down and start paying
Think about
attention
ripening.
to their crop load, and that's when you want to address crop load. And so I like the winemakers to come out
And really
and see them then, and see them right around veraison, how they're turning color. That's a kind of a critical, just to kind of keen in, and then it's more when you can start tasting them and get them out there. But
Right.
With 14 varietals, just real quick idea, how many acres do you farm?
46.
46. And that's split between the 14 varietals. So, and you've got Viognier and you've got Greco. What other crazy varietals do you have that you can throw at us real quick?
Nothing crazy other than that. My Greco's a crazy one. Tempranillo and a little Graciano for blending with that. And then the Petit Syrah, Syrah, Mourvedre, Grenache, and Barbera, and Zinfandel, and Primitivo. And I'm forgetting somebody. Viognier, Greco. Who am I forgetting? Nebbiolo?
No, you
Nope.
don't have any
Nope.
Nebbiolo.
Nope.
That's right.
I'm forgetting somebody, but
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
We have a question from Bill.
Bill, what have you got for us? Do you need to? Can you hear us, Bill?
He says, talk about how important old Grenache must be to be good and how important it is.
So Bill wants to know how old Grenache needs to be in order to be good. Do Grenache wines
have
need
some
to reach a
opinions about
certain
this.
I
age?
think well, I've only worked with babies. These are still babies. I mean, we're talking, these were planted, this was their 9th season. So these are young,
Okay.
young vines.
But
you worked
they're
with,
mature.
yes,
They're mature. They're not in their ramp
Right.
up. They're mature.
yeah.
So I worked with really old stuff in the Priorat, 50, 80, over 100 years old. And it's totally insane. But you can make great wine from young Grenache. You just have to work a lot harder. And I think that right there is really the beauty of old vines, is that they've already established, their framework, and their green growth is very limited. Their crop load is very limited. So you don't have to go through and do all the fine tuning. We do 4 passes usually, and sometimes more in
Just
Anne's
thinning,
Vineyard.
not earlier passes,
Just thinning. And that can be, shoulders and clusters not touching, and and going and just addressing, this vine and its neighbor are not the same thing. You don't do the same thing to both of them. So it's really,
if you took off all the
that's
crop
the beauty
to bring
of
it
old
down, if you
vine.
decide 3 ton an acre
Right.
is where you want to be. And
Right.
if you took it from where the vine usually wants to be 6 to 8 tons an acre.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you did it in one fell swoop, the vine's just going to compensate and make all those berries larger.
Right.
yeah.
So you got to
You gotta
tweak
kinda
it and make it
slow-
keep working.
You
Yeah.
have to work at it. And Grenache is also, it's when it's young, it's exuberant. And if the weather's good, it'll set a massive crop, a crop that it may not even be able to ripen. And if you don't go out and do the work of thinning, you're going to have a less, try not to be mean here, you're going to have an insipid wine. You have to go out and really, so that's really old vine versus young. Old vines they don't crop. They're already self-limited.
They're safe-limiting. They find their kind
So
of strain.
You don't have to
But
do as
I
much.
think sometimes old vines are so good because, they're old because they were so good. So they have
Okay.
to stick around.
Ah,
right?
that's true with
That's a
Vineyard
great
in
statement. I like
California.
that.
Yeah.
That's
Really
true in a
good.
lot of places.
Yeah,
too.
and we talk about that, like all the old vines ends up in the foothills. They got to stick around because they make good wine.
Yeah.
So they stay.
Another question?
Yeah, from a Joe the Caser, and is wondering what other red Variator, horn Variator, are you bringing in a lesser known Variator? Are you planting in the vineyard?
So far, if I plant more, there's a whole slew that I consider, but right now we just have the Mourvedre, Grenache,
Okay.
Syrah, and Petit Syrah.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
What are some of
it's-
those other ones? I mean, there's so many,
There's so many. I don't know where I'd even start. And it's like, there's just not much left to plant without taking out some beautiful oak trees. So it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So we're really not going there.
Right. No. Want to leave the oak trees.
Yeah.
Don't wanna impede on them.
It took about 90 acres to get the 46 acres planted.
Wow.
But the old timers had already cleared it back in the late 1800s. And so where they left stands of trees, there was a reason for it, and we kind of just worked around them.
Yeah, you don't want to impede.
And then
on
all these different, it's really pretty.
It's gorgeous.
Well, what are some of
Beautiful.
the varietals then? What are the crazy varietals are you getting to play with then, maybe?
So Keplinger is just Rhone. That's what we do. So
But I
we
mean,
do Rhone, we do single vineyard, and we pick
Cinsault
fabulous
or
sites
Counois?
and people who are really willing to work with great stuff or do the work and make the wines great, and that's what we do. We have another wine that I guess it's not really crazy, but it's 2/3 Mourvedre, 1/3 Grenache, and it has around 5% Counoise. And
That's crazy. I mean, you're
the
throwing
Caldera
Counoise in
vineyard,
there.
So that's the other vineyard that goes into the Eldorado.
What?
We're getting crazy.
You're pushing the limit a little bit. I like it. And people, you say Counoise, that's crazy. I mean, what about that
It's a
varietal?
funny looking varietal, yeah.
Really fine looking.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like table grapes. Yeah.
It looks like table grapes, really
it does
big
have
and.
some chick. Yeah, you really have to work we really limit the crop on that. Cut shoulders, 1 cluster per shoot, and it ripens late too.
Really?
So, and I I don't use very much. It's only 5%. And I'm co-fermenting that with either the Morvet or the Grenache.
Okay.
And so we work hard to get that to line up with the others. So it gets pruned first, it gets thinned first, and then it's, it's ripe when it's picked, but it's work. It's great.
Thought that I had that I think some people who have logged in and some people who have been asking questions, just to kind of clarify,
Yep.
without us getting too detailed in the chemistry of it, when you do a lot of co-fermentations,
Right.
why? What is the point of taking this varietal, throwing it in a batch with that varietal, versus making them on their own and then blending them after the fact?
I think the earlier you can put two things together or three things together, the better, the more seamless the marriage. So that's what I like about it.
And
So-
think about just that fermentation, that the temperatures you get, that those wines are never going to see again.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And if they get to happen together,
Yeah.
the experience.
They can help each other.
Could we almost just kind of throwing a thing out there, because we've got about 5 minutes we have to wrap up. Could it be like bringing two people together who grow up as friends from a certain point in life and spend all of that and just know all the dirt on each other, versus maybe meeting up later in life and, okay, yeah, I get you and you get me, so we're just going to kind of go on from there? I mean,
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But, we met when I was 31, and that's pretty seamless.
there you go.
This is my partner in crime. Could not do any of this without DJ. So.
And how did do you make wine as well, or do you just make sure that while she's out there doing her 380-mile loop?
That's only one of my loops.
That's only one of your loops. Yeah. Holy jeez.
Yeah.
I come along for conversation. And then listen to
drive.
these two. And drive, yeah. But no, I do majority of the day-to-day operations.
Very cool.
Sales and marketing and general management and
Make sure we pay our bills and get paid.
Yeah.
So while she's the one who's out there doing the loop of checking the vineyards and making the wine, do you get to do a little bit of the traveling then as well and just have fun that way?
Exactly.
There you go. There's your seamless. You just kind of line up one next to the other. One more question. We have time for one more question. Well, no, you got to, come on, right here, buddy.
Hey guys, I just want to get like a quick background on the name. Sumo, I mean, you mentioned the Lithic before, but what's the
Sumo.
Yeah.
So Sumo, it's Petit Syrah, so it's massive, right?
Okay.
It's a big varietal. But Sumo wrestlers, it's an art form, and they've got finesse and the way that they move. Yeah, tremendous balance. And that's what this wine, this wine. And then Eldorado, on the back of that is actually a stanza from the Edgar Allan Poe poem titled Eldorado. And it's that, the quest for this kind of the historic treasure and
Golden City.
The quest for something, and the Golden City. So.
And it's from the foothills.
And it's from the foothills.
Land of the gold.
And the land of gold.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question. Well, with that, I think we're pretty much about out of time. I got to thank everybody for being here and sharing these three wines, Helen. And
Thanks
you're
so
growing
much.
the grapes, you're making the wines, you're setting the team, and Chris, you're drinking them. And thank you so much for joining us on.
I just stumbled in here. Great.
Woo! Love it. Thank you, everybody, for logging in so very much. We had a great number of people logging in.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting us. Thank you, everybody who showed up tonight to be a part. And we hope to see you again soon. Make sure that you're constantly asking questions. More people can get logged in. More people can follow us on Facebook. We want to always keep the conversation going. So thank you guys so very much. Thank you to 55 Degrees, our wine storage partners up in St. Helena. They're always a big supporter of us. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Cheers. Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Pleasure.